Welcome to the Empowered Wealth Podcast, where we're redefining what financial independence looks like for women. I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to introduce you today to Heather Herr, who is owner of Team Herr Real Estate. Heather, I'm really eager to dive deep into your career journey today and learn more about why you do what you do. Can you give us about a 90-second overview of the work you do and why you got into it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. So I started in real estate, gosh, almost 20 years ago, and I started as a regular real estate agent. But I have been in the business over 20 years. I started my own company. I am a boutique real estate firm, and I'm the CEO and founder of Team Her, but that's underneath the umbrella of Private Real Estate Collection. So that's the name of my company. And we are in 3 states right now. So Ohio, which spans all over Ohio, up all the way through Dayton, Kentucky, and then also in Florida, because I own there. So I have 2 teams down in Florida. And I have a couple other sub teams that work under my umbrella, but Team Her Real Estate is the main flagship team of the entire group. So that's kind of the one that I brought in to start the company. But yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So share with me, have you been working as a real estate or in the real estate industry your entire career, or is this something that you moved into?
This is a great question. I actually have a master's degree in art education. I taught high school right out of college, and I was very young and just didn't enjoy it the way that I should have. But I am very creative, and I did like the aspect of art history and architecture. So then I got a job where I was a software consultant. So there's a little bit of a mixture where the teaching went into the software. I learned a lot about customer relationship management software. I trained it, I wrote books for it. I would go to Asia and train companies. It was really a cool experience. And then I got married. So then I decided, well, I'll just stay home and be a mom for a little bit. And that lasted all of 14 months. And I was anxious to get back in the business. So my husband was like, you should get in real estate. You're so good with creativity, marketing, and architecture. When we live in a historic neighborhood at the time, I thought, well, that's a great idea. I can take my time and build a business. So that's how I started in real estate 20 plus years ago, which is great.
That sounds so fabulous. And just looking at your website, I'm blown away by the creativity I see in your
Thank you.
presence. So I love everything about that. Well, tell us a little bit about what you see as a big problem in your industry right now. I know interest rates are super high, it's getting more expensive, all the things, but you tell us, what do we need to know about the real estate industry and what some of the problems are and how you're solving them?
Yeah, a lot has changed over the years. And I always tell my team when they complain about, oh, they don't complain, but when, they have frustrations or struggles with certain things, that I actually was in real estate during the recession and was able to survive and make money doing that for our family. And my husband and I both always worked and helped each other. So that to me was one of the hardest pivotal parts of the career that we have. However, in recent years, there is a new lawsuit through the National Area Board of Realtors where people talk about it all the time, but now we cannot publicly put what we charge on the internet and advertise that. So sellers have the option to not pay their real estate agent, which obviously, no one wants to work for free ever. But there's ways to negotiate that. So that's put a little bit of a turn in the business. And we have new paperwork that's required. I've seen a lot of agents struggle and just pretty much get out of the business. I personally don't think much has changed at all. It's just how we communicate with our clients and explain our value to them, which is how it should always be anyway, because unfortunately, sometimes people don't like real estate agents. But I think part of that is because the misunderstanding about what they actually do, which is more than just put a sign in the yard, or open a door.
And Heather, I can so totally relate to that because as a financial advisor, the majority of the work that I do is behind the scenes for the clients. So they
Yeah,
literally have no idea. And if the market's up,
big deal.
everybody's happy. If the market's down, oh my gosh, so I totally understand. So it's interesting that they determined, they being the powers to be, that you couldn't share what it costs to work with you. I'm having a hard time getting my head around that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So the way that it used to be is that we could put on the multiple listing service that the seller would be compensating a certain percentage, and what the way that the seller would get paid would pay the listing agent, if I was selling your home, is that we would have that conversation secretly on the side or whatever through a contract, not secretly. But the buy side would be advertised. I don't really understand why they thought changing that or taking that off would change anything because we're still writing that in contracts. So there have been instances where maybe it's a $10 million house, which is not my industry that I am in because of where I live, but they'll say I don't want to pay a full 3%, and that can be negotiated. So really the only difference now is that we're writing it separately on a piece of paper, and in my opinion, absolutely nothing has changed. The only thing that I have seen too is that people are cutting corners and they're not using agents. They might call a listing agent directly, and there's a ton of benefit having your own representation, I think, going into a purchase, and same with the sale. So even if I have a property listed on the market, I still like to engage sometimes my buyer's agents, and we can split up that communication so each party feels like they have their own representation. So, but yeah.
And that makes so much sense. And I'm thinking about a lot of the women that I work with who are divorcing and not knowing that they have to have their own divorce attorney. They can't just wing it. They can't do it on their own. They can't use their spouses. So same thing. We all need to be represented. And I think that's really important. Well, I would love for you to share with us what makes you unique in the way that you're helping others in this industry.
Yeah, I kind of wrote a couple notes here about like some things that I felt made me different. Well, first thing is that I have a team that is like more boutique. So a lot of when you think of real estate companies, you think of large brokerages that have agents that maybe sell 5 houses a year. But my niche was more like, let me help you go from selling 5 houses to, 50 houses and really show them the support that they get with the team. I love the idea of very organized processes. I don't think a lot of real estate agents know that process unless they're within a company that does that for them. So the advantage is that we have someone every step of the way that helps, and that therefore our agents can go out and do what they love, and they're not sitting behind their desk all the time doing paperwork. We have people that do that. There are some teams that do that, but it's not as common as the individual agent. So, and the idea of teams has been around for a while. It became very popular about 7 years ago, I'd say. Mega teams are out there. There's
Mhm.
TV shows about it, but the idea is that we all work together to support one another, and everyone has a little bit more flexibility and freedom. When I first started, I had a team of only women, which I thought was really cool. My last name is Herr, and I had a women's event called Empower Her with two R's. And we would have speakers come in and talk about exactly what you do, which is how do you talk about money in a man's world? Most of the women had no idea how to do that. How do we talk about divorce? Because I'm at the age now where I'd say more than half of my clients are going through this, and I need to be able to talk to them and help them. So I loved that. And I do think after a couple years, we realized that we really missed having men around in the group because we just like to have that balance. So we do have a couple men, but we are women-owned business. And my husband is actually a helper. He's a business manager on the back end, and he likes to be secretively like not involved in the front line, but he's very amazing with his financial and paper and stuff like that, paperwork and spreadsheets, which is not my thing. So, but yeah.
I got it, and I love the whole idea of the team, not standing on your own, having that support system, somebody to bounce ideas off of. We all have our areas of expertise, right? So you
Yes.
might be great at, yeah. everything except for the spreadsheets and such. So
Right.
that's great. Well, tell me, and do you see, or let me not ask the question that way. Where do you see the industry going over the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see more team building or just more independent?
So that's a great question. I actually think that over the next couple years, I've already feeling this shift. There's a lot of, um, you probably read this online, and in the news, but Zillow, the way they're changing, large companies are withholding their inventory to be shown on the multiple listing service. That doesn't sound like a huge deal unless you realize, like, if you're a homeowner and you want to for sale by own your house, you don't even have the option. So what I'm seeing is that more people will continue to use realtors, even though they believe that Zillow was trying to take over. I do believe that real estate agents are always going to be critical in that transaction, but I do think that there may be more instances where they work directly with the listing agent as a dual agent, which is why I was telling about like breaking up the two, and that teams will exist for sure. Just because it's run like a business. I One of my favorite analogies is when you go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't come out to sign you in or sign you out to pay the bill. You go and you see the specialist and then they walk you out and then you make another appointment. I feel like every industry should be like that, in real estate for sure as well. So,
Absolutely. And another thing that resonates with me that you said is I kind of equate to using AI. So many people are concerned about AI and how AI is going to take over all of our jobs. My opinion is AI is going to help us be more efficient and effective, maybe,
yes.
but it can't replace the human element because we have to have that human element.
100%. And it's funny because I started 20 years ago as a neighborhood agent. So, meaning that I would walk around the neighborhood and talk to every person. And I have sold some of the homes in the neighborhood that I live in 5 times already. So I've seen families grow up and leave and then come back. I can't imagine that a robot or anyone even on Zillow that doesn't know this neighborhood would be able to replace that. So I always teach my team, let's really dive into what your niche is. Where do you live? Okay, there's a top agent there, fine. But if you really stay on that path for long enough, you will eventually be that person. You have to work hard though. You have to be involved. I was the president of my neighborhood association twice. I went to every meeting. I walked the dogs. I talked to every person. I got super involved with fundraising. So everything that I could do to help that community, I truly believe that the future of real estate will go back to that again. We got a little bit away, and the AI is great. It's great for like people finding you on other elements, but there's always going to be that community aspect that I think people forgot about for a while. So,
Absolutely. Well, and I would love for you to share with us whether it's a challenge in your personal life or professional life. What's the biggest challenge that you faced thus far, and how is that affecting the way or shaping the way you do business today?
gosh, I had a note here about a couple little things like that. I think for me, the one of the hardest things was building a business and also raising children that were being raised the right way. It's just not just having them busy doing things. But I think I navigated that pretty well, and I'm still doing it. It's never ending. I mean, they're going off to college and it gets just as hard when they get to that point. So my biggest challenge was having the right people in place so that we could support each other. When I did start my company, I had some turnover, and I think I realized that I was speaking in a different way to my team instead of like saying, this is what the business needs at this time. The business needs this because we all want to have a better business. And I think I held on to those old ways, hoping that that would work because I really believe in family and I'm very loyal to my people that work with me. But I learned the hard way that sometimes you have to make decisions as a CEO that not everyone's happy about. And you can't always make everyone happy. But at the end of the day, people are happier if things are run better. So for me, that was part of it. And, I'm still evolving in that regard too. In fact, I'm hiring a marketing director that I thought I had that figured out, and then something changed with the job position. So really making sure I do the right thing and hiring the right people all the time.
And that's a challenge in itself. And I'm not good. I want everybody. I don't want to. I don't know how to say
I
no.
know
So that's it's getting the right.
it's hard.
We can go through a few to get to the right one. That's absolutely. Well, share with us if you could have lunch with anybody, living or deceased. Who would you choose that to be and why?
That is very cool. Well, let's see. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I love a lot of podcasts that people probably know, but I have always really loved Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. I don't know if you know who that is, but he is a social entrepreneur. Like he's very famous online. But I started listening to him about 5 years ago because I was very much into marketing and I actually have met him, but only just briefly. I just liked how he was just very much into building organic growth and interest in what you're doing and who you are. So I would love to sit down with him now and talk about where I am in my growing pains of growing a company and competing against large brokerages because I won't ever be a giant brokerage. I'm a small boutique firm and really like having the confidence to be okay with that. And by the way, like we're selling more than some of the larger brokerages here in town, triple the amount with less people. So I know that we are doing the right thing. It's just it would be so fun to kind of sit down with someone that's been through that and scaling multiple businesses and talk about that further. I also love Mel Robbins too. So, but I'll go back to Gary because I've been following him for 5 years, so or more.
Okay, that's awesome. And I follow them both as well. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. And anybody that goes by Gary V, I mean, there's just with that last name and just the he's in V is his, everybody knows who he is. So that's awesome. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear about that. And I know you mentioned earlier that that you're located in different places in the United States. Are you looking to
Yes.
expand into more states or
We are, yes. Right now, like I'm in Ohio most of the time because I have a daughter in high school. I have a house in Florida. We suffered several hurricanes there, and I had to kind of pull back a little bit because the market changed, and also realized that you can't grow too fast. You need to make sure that you know what you're doing. So I did get some people there and started some offices. I would like to get more offices in Florida, more in Kentucky, and more in Ohio. As far as other states go, I'm not sure unless the perfect opportunity arises. I'm not, originally I thought I wanted to do like 10 states, but after seeing how busy we are and the success we're having, I'm just taking it slow. So right now it's more just like in the states that we currently exist or nearby ones, bordering. For example, Indiana is just right on the edge of Ohio and it's a whole different real estate license. There's no reciprocity. So that would be a very good idea too, because we have clients that oftentimes want to go to Indiana, and that's an easy one. But two of my daughters live in Texas, and everyone keeps asking me, when am I going to start an office in Texas? But phew, I don't know. We'll have to see. So for now,
right?
we're going to
Well, and
keep building
I,
here.
I yeah, and I totally respect you don't want to grow too fast. It's like you got to stay within your lane enough to to stay on top of
Yes.
everything and be good at what you do. And if you stretch too thin, now that hurts the brand itself. So, but it sounds like you're
Yeah.
doing fabulous with what you have and are continuing to grow. So, awesome. So, any words of wisdom to our community of listeners about maybe how to reach out to someone like you if they want to work with somebody like you versus just a big box realtor? What would they be looking for?
Yeah, I think that's great. I actually had this closing today, which I was thinking about with a young girl who works for a large company called Procter and Gamble here, and that's a big company in Ohio, Cincinnati. And I was very impressed with her. She has a job with them, but she also has a side business that she owns in the franchise world. And she's starting to buy investment properties. And I really was thinking, gosh, I wish I would have been her when I was that age because she's just got all these great ideas to do this and what a great opportunity. And the house wasn't overly expensive. It was the perfect amount. She can manage that. But my advice would be find someone that you can really like explore those areas that's not just looking for a sale. Like I really enjoyed getting to know her and kind of understanding who she was. I know that we'll have a lifelong friendship and of business together. And almost like she was like almost like a daughter to me. So I would say try to find someone that really is patient and will spend the time with you to coach and educate you because that's part of our job. It's not just selling a house and then boom, you're done. Like you want to be a part of their family. And I think that is what I would recommend for people that are newer in the business, for sure, or building.
Absolutely. And I agree 100% on the, we've got to know people and everybody that we work with professionally, we literally, if we don't feel like they're hearing us or communicating effectively with us, that's kind of a red sign for me. So knowing that
Yeah.
you're making the effort to really get to know people versus just being there to do a transaction, that's significant, I believe.
Yeah, I've actually had that happen the last couple times. I typically don't operate as a buyer's agent because of my team. I'm usually on the listing side of the business, which is more the marketing or the advertising, PR, SEO, that kind of stuff. However, every once in a while I do step in and, I have friends that are going through divorces or life changes, and those are very important to me. So just really taking the time to help them in that next chapter kind of goes back to my education background. It really kind of becomes full circle to me that I feel like I'm helping them in a way just by educating them on those processes, and it feels good. And being able to like refer someone like yourself to them where they really need some help, that's not my specialty, but I can help them by
Right.
referring. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's wonderful. Well, you've been a great guest today, and I would love for you to
Yeah.
share with everyone how they can find you and learn more about you and all of the different places that you're operating out of.
Thank you. Yes, you can find me. My email is so easy. It's Heather at Team Her with two R's. Heather at teamher.com, and my website is teamher.com. Also, I'm on Instagram. That is probably my heaviest platform, but I'm on every platform. Heather Herr on LinkedIn, Team Her on LinkedIn. Same with Instagram at Heather Herr at Team Her Real Estate. And we're posting all the time.
I love
So
Awesome. Well, ladies, go out there and make those connections on in social media and follow. So we appreciate you being on the program today. Thanks.
it was great. It was great to be here. Thank you again.
Thank you for tuning in to the Empowered Wealth Podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money, it's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.